Well, the Oklahoma City Thunder just took a massive dump right on the Portland Trailblazers' faces.
I got poopy.
This one was ugly, boys and girls. The National Guard was called in to assist and rescue Portland.
Send the National Guard, please. They need emergency help.
From what ultimately was a 62-point beatdown.
What?
Yes, you heard that correctly. 139-77 final score, bringing the Thunder's record to 26-11 for the season, which is now tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves for the #1 seed in the Western Conference. And please raise your hand at this time if you had Minnesota and Oklahoma City tied for the top spot in the West at the approximate midpoint of the NBA season. While the Thunder squad has been balling all year, there is no doubt who the undisputed head of this snake is. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the transcendent 25-year-old shooting guard who came from relative obscurity to explode onto the scene last year during the 2022-2023 season. With this kid posting prime Jordan numbers, maybe it's time the basketball world took note of just who the hell Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is.
All right, let's do it.
Born in Toronto, Alexander grew up in Hamilton, Ontario, where he would also play his high school ball before committing to the University of Kentucky. While he would begin the season as the sixth man, eventually, throughout the year, Shai would work his way into a starting role, and he would parlay that successful freshman campaign into foregoing the remainder of his eligibility and declaring for the 2018 NBA Draft. A draft that was headlined by first overall pick DeAndre Ayton, third overall pick Luka Doncic, and fifth overall pick Trae Young. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a bit of an afterthought in this draft initially, being selected 11th overall by the Charlotte Hornets.
The Charlotte Hornets select Shai Gilgeous-Alexander
before ultimately being traded to the Clippers on draft night. And Alexander would go on to have a decent rookie season, averaging 11 points, 3.3 assists, and nearly 3 rebounds, while playing in all 82 games and starting 73 while being named to All-Rookie second team. But in the summer following his rookie year on July 19th, Alexander was traded again, this time to the Oklahoma City Thunder. And in his second year, aged 21 season, Alexander would take a big leap, averaging 19 points, 6 rebounds, and nearly 3.5 assists per game for the 2019-2020 season, playing all but 2 games that year while leading the Thunder to a surprise playoff spot. Though the point fraud Chris Paul would predictably usurp most of the credit for that accomplishment. But last year, Shai would take another massive leap, being named to his first career All-Star game while erupting for 31.5 points per game and being named first-team All-NBA. Well, he has gotten even better this year, duplicating that scoring average from a year ago, but upping his averages across the board in everything else, posting eye-popping averages of 31.5 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, while leading the league in steals with 2.3 per game. All of this while shooting 56% from the field, 35% from 3, and 89% from the free throw line. This with the aforementioned shocking #1 seed for the Thunder in the Western Conference, and the odds makers were not high on this team preseason. Oklahoma City had just the 19th best odds-on favorite to win the NBA title to start the year at plus 10,000. And they were picked to finish 10th in the Western Conference. But not only are they tied for the 1 seed out west, they trail the Boston Celtics by only 2 games for the best record in the entire NBA. As elite and absurd as Nikola Jokic is and has been this year, and the last 4 years if we're being honest, and while yes, Nikola was without Jamal Murray for half of the season, who the hell would have thought the Thunder would have a better record than the Nuggets at the start of this season? And while Joel Embiid is posting ludicrous numbers this year, career highs across the board, he has already missed 9 games this year of the Philadelphia 76ers 36 to this point of the season. Sitting out a legitimate quarter of the year invalidates you from any serious MVP consideration. Not to mention how much easier it is to post numbers when you're resting so many days in between games. So while Alexander is getting some run in various MVP rankings, perhaps it's time to start normalizing him as the leading candidate, as SGA also ranks very highly in these made-up advanced analytic categories that get the voters sprung, sitting third currently in league-wide PER, second in VORP, third in BPM, and he is leading the NBA in win shares. He has been so good. There will be some inevitable comps springing up to Kobe Bryant and even Michael Jordan. While the 31-6-6 line is preposterous in this or any era, let's bear in mind yet again of how easy this relative era is. The lack of defense, the meteoric pacing, the outrageous scoring. Jordan and Kobe were doing their work in an NBA where nightly scoring averages were in the mid to upper 90s. Average nightly scoring currently is at an obscene 116 points per game this year. While looking at the per 100 possession averages will normalize for pace, there realistically is no way to address the differential in defensive effort by an entire generation of players who seem disinterested in defense altogether, or the rules changes such as the removal of hand checking and illegal defenses, etc. So this is not an apples to apples comparison, but looking at those per 100 possession averages, yeah, it's undeniable Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is having a stupefyingly good season when compared to the golden standard of players at his two-guard position all time, and arguably the two best players overall of the last 30 years. Alexander is currently averaging 43.5 points per 100 possessions, 8 rebounds, and 9 assists, while in Jordan's top season, the 86-87 league year, he averaged 46 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists per 100 possessions, and in Kobe's marquee season of 2005-2006, he also averaged 46, 7, and 6. Again, this doesn't take into account ease of scoring amid the non-existent defense being played in this era, nor should we be getting ahead of ourselves in comps, including 2 of the ultimate winners of all time. But it does highlight just how good Alexander has been this year. So while the pathetic NBA media continues to thirstily hyperventilate over a 39-year-old who isn't even the best player on his own team,
Monica, I believe LeBron James is still the best, right this minute, is the best player in the world, and he's almost 39 years old. I'm drenched in sweat.
Or some guy sitting out a quarter of his team's total games that they already gifted a thoroughly undeserving league MVP to just last year. Maybe it's high time we put some damn respect on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's name and recognize him for what he should be at this time, the leading candidate for the most valuable player of the NBA this season.